Jujutsu Kaisen Modulo just entered a completely new phase. The ritual of harmony is complete and the world has changed. Yuka is safe. But once again, we're left with an off-screen result because the Mahoraga versus Dabura fight, we never actually see how it ends. Dabura returns home, makes his move, and his sister's face is finally revealed, and honestly, she looks beautiful. Meanwhile, the Sumerians are forced to confront the consequences of the ritual, and Yuji quietly begins preparing for what comes next. Let's break down chapters 23 and 24, the beginning of Modulo's new world. Chapter 23 opens with a bonus comedy. The Sumerians decide to try earth liquor for the first time. One of them admits he's a little scared to drink it, wondering if it might be poison. So he tells Dappa to taste it first. Dappa grabs the bottle and drinks it without hesitation. He's completely fine. Osuki looks at him and says it looks like it's safe. So they move on and reach for another bottle, but Dappa suddenly stops them. He says no, I will test all of them. Just in case there's poison, he ends up drinking most of the bottles himself, and in the next panel, he's completely wasted, red-faced, swaying. I'm not drunk! Nobody even accused him. Osuki and the others just look at him and say, nobody said you were. Then Dabura walks in. He looks at Dappa and calmly asks, are you drunk? And Dappa immediately goes, yeah, a little. Dabura just stares at him and leaves. And the second Dabura walks away, Dappa waves his hand and says, safe! That was scary! In the background, Osuki goes, I knew that would get him sober. And another Sumerian adds, guess he wasn't that drunk after all. And that's where the bonus comedy ends. Now, we return to the main story. Yuji and Maru continue discussing their plan, and Yuji drops the bomb again. Even if we eliminate cursed energy from the Japanese, cursed spirits will probably still be born. Maru is stunned. Huh? Then, what have we been talking about this whole time? Yuji realizes Maru is not absorbing knowledge from Yuki's notebook. It's more like he can access that knowledge. Then Yuji explains the real issue. Completely eliminating cursed energy from humanity is nearly impossible. He brings up people overseas. Earlier it was said that cursed energy is mostly unique to Japanese people, or those with Japanese ancestry, with very rare exceptions. But that's not fully true. Overseas humans also emit cursed energy. It's just incredibly faint compared to Japanese people. Because of that, cursed spirits are still born overseas. Their numbers are very low. But occasionally, a very powerful one appears. Maru asks, how can they be strong if the cursed energy there is so faint? Yuji explains, since the energy is weak, only concentrated accumulations take form. Weak spirits can't manifest, only stronger ones manage to. And for the past 70 years, overseas cursed energy has been flowing into Tokyo. So even if Japan is purified, spirits will still be born. If this place is the pathway of all souls, then overseas souls pass through here too. To truly stop it, they'd have to eliminate cursed energy from all humanity. But that is impossible. Yuji clarifies that when he said eliminate cursed energy, it was under the assumption that it was even fully possible to do. But even if they reshape souls, Japanese people and Sumerians would still emit faint cursed energy, just like non-Japanese. That means cursed spirits would still be born from the Japanese through the same process as those overseas. The numbers would drop dramatically, but never to zero. Maru agrees and says, yeah, you're probably right. This time, I'm using my curse technique to bring Sumerians and the Japanese into harmony. So, I can't do anything that would cause physical harm to anyone. Yuji says, yeah, I bet. If cursed energy isn't there anymore to keep our bodies running, then there's a good chance it could cause damage. Meaning, he wouldn't be able to use his technique to do it because Maru can't cause damage with the harmony technique. Yuji then goes on to say, apart from exceptions like Maki, who have a heavenly restriction and innately offered something in return, a physical boost, you can't completely get rid of cursed energy. That's just our fate as human beings. Maru asks, in a world without sorcerers, won't the risk of even a few cursed spirits being born with latent abilities be too high? Yuji says, leave that part to me. As long as I have the time I've been given, I can deal with it before the next generation. It'll be a lot better than the current power balance between Jujutsu sorcerers and cursed spirits. The number of cursed spirits born every year would be able to fit on one hand. I'm sure the reconstruction of Tokyo will make progress too. Maru raises another issue. The Earthlings and Sumerians will keep being drawn into conflict over the cursed spirits. Yuji suggests, then bring harmony to the cursed spirit too. Fix the thing that's causing the Romelians to confuse cursed spirits with Kalyans. At this point, Yuji walks over to a big toy bin in the room they're in, filled with different stuffed animals, like a cursed spirit doll and a Kalyan doll. He asks, what's actually different between cursed spirits and Kalyans? Just because something resembles a cursed spirit doesn't mean it's evil. He mentions Tengen, who evolved into a form similar to a cursed spirit after 500 years. But Tengen wasn't evil. He mentions Choso, half human, half curse. They fought at first, but eventually really understood each other. So maybe Kalyans attack others not because of evil, but because of soul similarity. Maru examines the stuffed Kalyan and senses its soul. He says, "Our souls are the same color. Among all souls, only Kalyans, cursed spirits, and Remelians share this color. Cursed spirits are vessels formed from leaked cursed energy. Souls of matching color inhabit those vessels. That's why Kalyans and cursed spirits are confused. That's why Kalyans don't attack Remelians." Yuji thinks to himself, "Oh, so it's not a reason they attack, but a reason they don't attack." He asks if it can be fixed. Maru replies, "I can't overwrite the color of the soul, but there are other ways." Yuji asks whether it would work on souls that aren't born yet. Maru says it wouldn't directly affect future souls, but if they remake this place, where all of Earth's souls pass through, into a device that can split and reshape souls, they could scatter their colors, adjust their forms, and eliminate as much cursed energy as possible here. Yuji says, "So there's really no other way. If you use that method, then the Kalyans aboard the Naunax right now." That question remains unanswered. We cut to Africa. A shaman allows Dabura to take the black rope. Maru apologizes to Dabura for interrupting his warrior duel. He admits he dishonored him, both now and in the past. Dabura says, "You want me to go back to Samoria alone?" Maru replies, "It's the only way to save her, isn't it? You can take us there now. If it's just the two of us, you can do it, right?" Dabura says he came to Earth to fulfill Dura's promise. His duty is complete. Maru asks if he has changed. Dabura smiles. "I just caught up to the other warriors." Then we hear a voice off-screen say, "Brother." It's Dabura's sister approaching him. Dabura says, "Let's go back home, Speho." Maru says, "Thanks to the black rope, the curse the Deskunte chieftain placed on you is broken. Nothing binds you now." Dabura's sister turns to Maru and says, "Thank you, Marlu." Maru shakes his head. "Dabura, we'll see each other again. I understand now. My curse technique." Maru then raises his hand and begins to channel his technique. Orbs of white energy begin to form. The paneling behind him shows Yuka, Tsurugi, Cross, and Usami, all still unconscious from their injuries. Maru smiles and says, "That should do it." Maru then turns to Yuji and says, "Thank you, Yuji, and I'm truly sorry." Yuji says, "You sure that's it? There's still one big job left to do." And Maru says, "Yeah, but I think I need to do it myself." Yuji turns and starts walking away and says, "Got it." Then at the same time, both of them wave goodbye to each other and say, "You've got it from here." We then cut to Maru levitating over Tokyo, looking down at hundreds of cursed spirits and the souls within them. He says, "Cursed spirits of Earth," but he remembers Yuji's words, "This is a huge sin." Maru thinks, "That's right, I wasn't prepared to take on the burden of such a sin." Then out loud he says, "I'm sorry. At the very least, may you rest in peace." At that moment, someone grabs his hand. It's Cross. He says, "Let's do this together." Then two more hands join. Yuka grabs Cross's hand. Tsurugi grabs Maru's hand. Cross says, "Don't worry, we're all here with you." Here, Yuka, Tsurugi, and Cross are not physically alive. They appear as souls or spiritual presences. Maru thanks them and steals himself. Then both Maru and Cross shout together, by offering prayers to pacify all spirits. We now conclude the ritual of harmony. The souls begin rising, dissipating. The ritual of harmony is complete, and chapter 23 ends. Chapter 24 opens with another bonus comedy. This time featuring Chef Tomoe and table manners. We see Yuka holding a knife and a fork and saying, "Hold your knife with your right hand and your fork with the left." She places them on the plate pointing toward each other, forming a triangle, and says, "This means I'm still eating." She then positions them parallel to each other and says, "This means I'm done eating." We then see Maru and Yuka holding up the knife and the fork to their faces parallel, and Yuka says, "This means seconds, please." And Tsurugi is just staring at them, embarrassed to be seen with them. Then both Yuka and Maru say, "Tomoe, seconds, please." And Tomoe puts her knife and fork in her nose and says, "No, this means seconds, please." And Yuka thinks to herself, "Now that's a Kansai native." And Tomoe says, "So you're from Kansai too." And that's where the bonus comedy ends. Now we return to the main story. In the midst of the ritual of harmony, we see the cursed spirits begin dissolving into glowing lights as a result of Maru's ritual of harmony. This isn't destruction, it's salvation. The spirits dissipate peacefully, suggesting they are being transformed, not erased. The glowing orbs symbolize spiritual purification, a peaceful resolution instead of exorcism. Several characters watch the scene, Cross on a hospital rooftop, and Mino, some of the Sumerian women, and Jabaloma on the spaceship. We then cut to Miyaguni, who is also enraptured by this. She reaches out her hands to touch the glowing orbs and says, "This doesn't feel like exorcism. It's gentle. It feels like they're resting." We then cut to Yuka. Mahoraga's wheel falls and dissolves away. Her eyes shoot open as this happens, and she's lying amongst the rubble where we last saw her fighting Dabura. She leans up, touches the back of her head, and says, "It doesn't hurt anymore." And then she starts to crack a smile. We then cut to Tsurugi, and we see that his wristwatch shows a phone call from Yuka. Maru says, says, "Oh, is it Yuka?" And Tsurugi says, "Yeah." Then we see Maru reach his hand down and grab Tsurugi's. Tsurugi says, "Should we go home?" And Maru says, "Definitely." We then cut to Dabura as we see him pull up on the Deskunte chieftain, who is completely shocked to see him amidst his harem of Sumorian women. The chieftain starts freaking out. He says, "Why are you here?" And he shouts, calling his guards. Then we see Dabura's sister come into the room. The chieftain says, "Wait, your sister is here. Just try and lay a finger on me. Spehol will die." She removes her hood and says, "Go ahead, try it." His eyes widen in horror. He thinks to himself, the curse is broken. Then we see his throne room annihilated by Dabura's curse technique. Below, the citizens watch in panic as the debris falls. Then suddenly, Dabura appears amongst them and throws down the Deskunte chieftain's head and declares, "Starting now, I am the chief of Deskunte. Understood?" Everyone immediately drops to one knee and bows before him. Dabura says, "First, we'll make a proper grave for Dora and enshrine him as a hero. After that," he pauses, and says, "Once we're done with that, I'll quit being chief. Then just do whatever you want." All the people around him are confused. "What?" Dabura says. "I don't know much about politics." We then cut inside the Sumerian spaceship. In the central circular chamber, Maru and Cross are questioned by high-ranking Sumerians, as if on trial. They explain that cursed spirits contain souls the same color as Kalyans, and what they heard were the voices of those souls. So they use their curse technique to scatter the colors of the souls. So from now on, the Rumelians won't confuse cursed spirits with Kalyans anymore. However, there's one problem. They couldn't scatter the colors of cursed spirits, Kalyans and Rumelians separately. Future Rumelians and Kalyans will have differently colored souls, so Kalyans might not recognize them as their own and could try to eat them. Upon hearing this news, the other Sumerians are furious. "What?" Maru says, "There haven't been any confirmed reports of Kalyans breeding in the last century, so I'd like to hear your opinions on what we should do with the remaining 52 on board this ship." The Romurians grow louder. One person says, "What in the world have you two done?" Another says, "Cross, Marulu, you should be interrogated for your crimes before we even discuss what to do with the Kalyans." Jabaloma chimes in, "We're gonna be living on Earth from now on. We should accept this as a necessary change." The other man shouts, "Jabaloma, you bastard!" Then Usuki steps in and says, "Shut up, both of you. There's a lot I want to say too, but just shut up for now. We have to decide about the Kalyans first." Maru says, "Honestly, I wasn't sure what to do. I thought about taking the Kalyans' lives along with the cursed spirits. If they're going to eat our children, we can't maintain our current relationship. I considered treating them like livestock, but I couldn't. Should we treat the Kalyans as wild animals who will attack us, or get rid of them? I don't know. I need your opinions." We then cut to Yuji walking through a storehouse with shelves lined from floor to ceiling. He continues down the hallway until he eventually stops, turns, and says, "It's been a while." We then see that he is speaking to none other than Panda, who is absolutely ecstatic to see Yuji. And that's where the chapter ends. And that wraps up chapters 23 and 24. What makes these chapters interesting isn't the action, it's the weight of the choices being made. Nothing feels completely resolved, just shifted. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, especially about Gegi's off-screen endings. First Gojo versus Sukuna, then Kashimo's death, Yuji's domain, and now Mahoraga versus Dabura. And what do you think Yuji is planning with Panda? And I'll see you in the next breakdown.